Hello, music fans. You're watching Death by Unicorn, where we talk about metal, rock, and prog music, and this is my top 10 favorite albums of January 2026. But before I jump into the top 10, I'll give two quick honorable mentions. Elend with Zerfall, a great atmospheric black metal album, and Denominate with their album Restoration, great progressive death metal. Now let's jump in with number 10, which is Crystal Lake and their album The Weight of Sound. This is melodic metalcore. It's got progressive metal. It's got maybe even a touch of deathcore influences. And I'm putting this in my excellent tier along with my two honorable mentions that I mentioned. And this is the sixth album by this Japanese band. They're a band I'd never heard before this album, but I heard some singles from this album, the title track, The Weight of Sound, and Crossing Nails. They were solid. That made me add this one to my list to check out. And it's just excellent melodic metalcore for fans of Killswitch Engage, Devil Wears Prada, and August Burns Red. But it's even got some progressive flair to it at times for fans of Northlane, Invent Animate, and Era, because it's a bit more progressive than the Killswitch and Devil Wears Prada sound. It was just a sprinkle of that prog. I wouldn't call this a prog metal album. But there's a track on here called Dystopia that features Jesse Leach of Killswitch Engage, so that is pretty cool. I enjoyed that one. And yeah, if that sounds good to you, check out Crystal Lake with their album The Weight of Sound. Number 9, I've got a debut album by a new progressive metalcore Djent band called Dead Air Divine, and the album's called The Answer. This has a bit of that post-hardcore emo influence, a bit of prog rock, but mostly progressive metalcore and Djent. And this is the American project featuring Lee Patrick McKinney of Born of Osiris and Tillian Pearson, formerly of Dance Gavin Dance. So if you're a fan of bands like Era, Periphery, Tesseract, Born of Osiris, and Dance Gavin Dance, definitely check this out. It sounds like a mix of those bands. Really high-pitched male vocals with that emo sound to them. Mostly clean melodic vocals, but some harsh screams too. Really genty guitar riffs and drums, but mostly staying in 4/4 time, just with syncopation and groove. Not a lot of crazy odd times or anything avant-garde here. Pretty groovy, pretty accessible, but still kind of progressive metalcore here from Dead Air Divine. That sounds good. Check out their debut album, The Answer. Number 8, I've got a band called Mole and their album Dreamcrush. This is post-black metal with shoegaze and blackgaze influences, also in my excellent tier. All the albums actually on this list are in my excellent tier except my number 1, which I've elevated to near masterpiece tier. So Mole, this is a Danish band, and this is their third album. And this is the second album that I've heard from them. So I haven't heard their debut, but I heard their second album, Diorama, back in 2021. That was very good, but I didn't go back to it much. I enjoyed the singles I heard from this new album, though, Young and Garland, which have catchy, great clean vocals in addition to their typical black metal shrieks. So I was looking forward to this, hoping it could be even better than their last. And luckily for me, they exceeded their last album here. And if you're a fan of bands like Deaf Heaven and Astronoid, I think you should check this out. It's kind of like a mix of those two bands. For me, that's Dreamcrush by Mole. Check it out. At number 7, I've got Poppy with her album Empty Hands. This is alternative metal with metalcore, industrial, pop, rock, and electronic influences. Also in my excellent tier. And my favorite track on here right now is Guardian, just really catchy metal with really poppy, catchy choruses, sing along. And this is Poppy's 7th album. And over the course of her music career, she's done some albums that are more on the bubblegum pop side, some that are intense alternative metal with harsh vocals. And from the singles of this new one, I knew this was going to be more of a metal release, which is good. That's what I prefer from her over her poppier stuff. But it still has the undeniable catchy pop hooks as well, which she's good at. So I like when she mixes them together, the metal and the pop. Her last album, Negative Spaces, was from 2024, and that was previously my favorite album of hers, but now I think she's made an even better album here. Her best album yet, perhaps. I think it's her best album yet. A little bit better than Negative Spaces for me. Check out Guardian, that's an awesome track. Time Will Tell is another awesome one. And the only downside of this album for me is just the intense use of pitch correction on the vocals. That's obvious. It's a bit annoying. I don't really like that sound. But the melodies of the hooks are amazing. And the harshness and intensity of her harsh vocal sections just bring great contrast. So if that sounds good, check out Empty Hands by Poppy. At number 6, I've got Plantoid with their album Flare. Great experimental, psychedelic, progressive rock with jazz fusion and space rock. Excellent tier stuff. And my favorite track on that one is Dozer. This is Plantoid's second album. They're from the UK. And I thought their debut album from 2024 was excellent as well. This Dozer was the single I heard ahead of time for this one, and just a really great track. If you're a fan of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, I think you might like this. Great female vocals here by Chloe Coyne. Check out Flare by Plantoid. Now we're at number 5, getting to the top 5 here. I've got Textures with their album Genotype. This is progressive metalcore of the Djent variety. Also excellent tier stuff. And my favorite track right now is At the Wedge of Winter featuring Charlotte Wessels. And Textures is a Dutch band. This is their 6th album. And I enjoyed the single I heard, Closer to the Unknown. That's what got me excited to check this out. If you're a fan of Tesseract, Periphery, Sky Harbor, Monuments, and Corellia, check this one out from Textures. It's like a mixture of those bands. And some other great tracks are Measuring the Heavens and Nautical Dusk. So check out Genotype by Textures, my number 5 of January 2026. The number 4, I've got an EP by a Norwegian band, an excellent band that I have been really enjoying everything they do. And that EP is called Leaves, and the band is Sykofant. And this is progressive rock, excellent tier stuff. Check out the Epic. They've got there's 3 tracks on this EP. The third is an over 16-minute prog epic track called Heart of the Woods. A big thanks to the band Sykofant for sending me an early promo of their EP here. I always appreciate that. If you're a fan of Pink Floyd, I think you'll like this. A lot of moments remind me of Pink Floyd, but they also have their own unique and more modern sound mixed in. Some parts even sound like some of the acoustic and soft bits you might hear in an Opeth album. No crazy metal or harsh vocals in here, though. Just 3 tracks, and every track's excellent. And apparently both their EPs, Red Sun from last year and Leaves from this year, will be released together as an album in a physical format. And the combined release will be available on vinyl and CD. So that'll be pretty cool. If you like Sykofant, check out their Leaves EP and maybe check out the physical copy of that being combined with Red Sun. And number 3 is an album called Setting Fire to the Sky by Urne. This is progressive sludge metal with stoner rock, metalcore, doom, thrash, groove, heavy metal, obviously post-metal. And just an awesome album for fans of Mastodon, Dune, and the Ocean. This is Urne's 3rd album. They're from the UK, and everything they've done is excellent, and this is no exception. I heard the single ahead of time, The Spirit Alive, excellent single. Most of the vocals on this album are harsh, and the riffs are heavy. The Ancient Horizons, an awesome track. That's probably my favorite currently. Nice clean vocal hooks on that, some nice heavy riffs, great guitar playing and drumming. I enjoy the guitar solo. And they end the album, the final track that's not a bonus track is called Breathe, which is a great melodic slow track at the end. The album features clean vocals, piano, shows the band can pull off that sound as well. They have a bonus track as well on Spotify after that one. And everything on here is just excellent stuff. Really enjoying Setting Fire to the Sky by Urne. Check it out. Now, my number 2 is a live album, and I normally don't put these on here, but it's kind of a special live album, so I'm going to count it. It's called Bach Out of Bounds by the band Alkaloid, and this is progressive death metal with classical influences. Check out the track Haunter of the Void for a preview there. And the Alkaloid is just a German band that I love. The 3 studio albums they've released so far have all been near masterpieces for me. Now, this is a live album. It's more interesting than your typical live album because it's not just them playing tracks from their studio albums that they've put out so far, though they do play some, like Cthulhu from their debut and the Fungi from Yugoth and A Fool's Desire from their latest album, Newman. But this album sees Alkaloid present 3 faithful renditions of Bach classics alongside an award-winning ensemble. And the group also unveil some new creations by infusing Bach's heart and soul into their own unique alchemy. So they have 2 completely new original songs here as well, called Beneath the Sea and Haunter of the Void. And then they do renditions of Bach classics. So this is really cool take on Bach with cool progressive death metal vibes. I've never heard anything quite like that before that sits so neatly in between classical and progressive death metal. And it's hard to even say whether this album's a classical album or a prog death metal album. It's kind of both at the same time. Lots of great operatic female vocals, but also some of their typical harsh male death metal vocals. Lots of great classical string sounds, but also some of their typical double kick drums, chunky metal riffs, crazy guitar solos. And yeah, I am counting this on my list for this year so far. Maybe I'll change my mind on that later since it is technically a live album, not a studio album. But if you're a fan of Obscura, Gorod, Black Crown Initiate, Archspire, Flesh God Apocalypse, imagine those bands meeting up with Bach at classical music, and that's what this sounds like. So check out Bach Out of Bounds by Alkaloid if that sounds good to you. And then my number 1 album of January 2026 is by a German band who I just recently discovered and went and binged their whole back catalog, and I'm loving it. It's the Hirsch Effekt with their album Der Brauch. And this is progressive metal, kind of progressive post-metal with post-hardcore, alternative rock, indie rock, mathcore, post-punk, symphonic and classical and rock all mixed in together. This one's a near masterpiece. Check out the track Der Doppelganger for a preview here. Never heard a full album by them until this one, but I really enjoyed the single Die Bruch that I heard ahead of the album and put on the album, and the whole album's great, blew me away. All the lyrics here are in German, so if you have a hard time with any non-English bands, this might be one that you might struggle with, but the music is so good that you don't really need to understand the lyrics. It's very much focused on clean vocals here, but there's moments that get quite heavy. It's kind of like Carnival meets Benthos, and those are 2 bands that I love, and they've earned themselves a spot on my ever-growing favorite bands list. Der Doppelganger has some parts that remind me of Fall of Troy. It's one of my favorite tracks on the album currently. I love how it kind of starts slow and then softer and then builds up and turns into this heavy, fast, crazy thing by the end, which is really awesome. So if that sounds good to you, check out Der Brauch by the Hirsch Effekt, my number 1 album of January 2026. What do you think of this list? Let me know down in the comments. And what were your favorite albums of January 2026? I'd be interested to know in case I missed anything that I might enjoy. And if you like metal, rock, and prog music, you're in the right place. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so you can stay in the loop on when I post new videos. I talk about my first impressions of new albums as they come out, and I do that roughly weekly. So my next video in my new Music Picks 2026 series, I'll be talking about my first impressions of new music from Carnival, Pussifer, Big Big Train, Tigran Hamasyan, and Wolverine. So really looking forward to those new releases. And stay tuned for that. Peace out.